80% asshole, 20% a good guy. The next day it may reverse it. You know what I'm saying?
Robert Duvall has never chased fame. He's chased truth. From The Godfather to Apocalypse Now, his performances carved honesty out of chaos. He speaks softly, but his opinions cut like wire.
Yeah, there's always those who like you. You always find somebody who doesn't like you, but, you know, that's fine.
For decades, Duvall's respect in Hollywood has been absolute, but his tolerance has not. He's worked with legends and walked away from them, calling out ego when he smelled it. He's praised actors who listened and remembered those who didn't. Some crossed lines of discipline, others of pride. Here are the 5 actors Robert Duvall admitted, or quietly revealed, he couldn't stand working with, and why those names still echo behind his silence. Number 1. Dustin Hoffman. Robert Duvall respected precision, but Dustin Hoffman's perfectionism pushed it to suffocation. On sets, and in stories that circulated for decades, Duvall bristled at Hoffman's endless takes and obsessive tinkering. Where Duvall believed in instinct, Hoffman believed in control. Their clash wasn't personal at first, it was artistic, until respect turned into quiet resentment. They moved in similar circles, products of a generation obsessed with truth in performance. Both men emerged from the same acting revolution, the era when method acting was treated like religion. But while Hoffman worshipped its discipline, Duvall questioned its limits. Hoffman wanted to own a scene, Duvall wanted to discover it.
Look at it, honey. We're having a good time. Now, where's Mommy keep
In the stove.
The difference might sound subtle, but on set, it meant everything. Hoffman approached characters like puzzles to be solved, dissecting emotion until it fit a pattern. To Duvall, that drained the life out of art. He once said Hoffman acts the moment instead of living it. Duvall's performances came from impulse, the quiet glance, the unplanned pause, the silence that said more than dialogue ever could. Hoffman's style, by contrast, filled every space with calculation. Between them lay a divide about what makes acting real. Duvall believed emotion should arise naturally from instinct, not rehearsal. Hoffman's reputation for running dozens of takes fascinated some and exhausted others. Crew members joked that by the 20th take, Duvall would have walked off set entirely. He preferred raw truth, unpolished but human. He told one interviewer, "If you don't find it by the 3rd take, you're just polishing the paint while the engine's off." Their approaches never reconciled. Hoffman sought mastery through control. Duvall found it through surrender. They stood on opposite banks of the same river, both reaching for truth but never touching hands. To Robert Duvall, Hoffman's brilliance was undeniable, but so was its artifice. He didn't despise the man, he just couldn't believe the performance. Number 2. Marlon Brando. For Duvall, Marlon Brando was both idol and irritation. Working together on The Godfather brought admiration, then fatigue. Brando's brilliance came wrapped in unpredictability, the kind Duvall couldn't stand. He saw genius spoiled by indulgence, a man who used mystery as a mask. Between them stretched a tension as legendary as the film itself. When Duvall arrived on Francis Ford Coppola's set, he expected reverence. Brando was the figure every actor measured themselves against, the rebel who had rewritten American performance. But what he found wasn't discipline or grace, it was spectacle. Brando wandered onto set hours late, murmured through dialogue, and altered scenes on impulse. To some, it was electrifying. To Duvall, it was self-indulgence disguised as genius. As filming deepened, Duvall's patience thinned. He admired Brando's instincts, but loathed the inconsistency that came with them. The veteran actor later remarked that Brando was a genius who hid behind laziness. That wasn't bitterness, it was disappointment. Duvall valued preparation, precision, and the humility of showing up ready. Brando, by contrast, relied on chaos, trusting that brilliance would find him at the last minute. It often did, but the collateral damage was trust. Their artistic tension became personal when Brando's unpredictability began to affect production. Scenes that should have taken hours stretched into days. Crew members adjusted schedules around his moods. Duvall, meticulous and methodical, saw it as disrespect to the work, to the story, and to everyone else who showed up on time. Yet he couldn't fully reject Brando's magnetism. Watching him perform was like watching lightning misbehave. Years later, Duvall reflected that Brando wanted to shock people more than he wanted to move them.
When he had the big scene with Pacino in the garden, he leaned back in his lines on a tree.
He had him on a tree!
Absolutely.
Even in reflection, the frustration lingered. He credited Brando with reshaping acting forever, yet he also saw him as the beginning of a dangerous myth, that chaos, equals genius. For Duvall, Brando embodied both the best and worst of American acting, raw truth buried beneath rebellion. He was the hero who opened the door, and the warning that followed you through it. Number 3. Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro represented everything Duvall distrusted about the new wave of actors. Immersive to the point of self-destruction, De Niro's method work felt like theatre turned laboratory. Duvall admired the commitment, but found no humanity in the process. Their paths rarely crossed on screen, but their philosophies collided through every story Hollywood whispered. By the late 1970s, De Niro had become the industry's benchmark for dedication. He gained weight for Raging Bull, drove taxis for Taxi Driver, and vanished into characters with monk-like intensity. To many, it was the pinnacle of authenticity. To Duvall, it was a man trying to prove something instead of reveal something. Acting, he believed, was truth caught by surprise, not truth earned through exhaustion. He once told an interviewer, "You don't have to destroy yourself to tell the truth." That single thought defined his resistance to De Niro's approach. Where De Niro dissolved into characters, Duvall preferred to stay visible, to let the audience feel the man behind the mask. He saw transformation as a trick of endurance, not empathy. For him, a role was meant to illuminate humanity, not bury it under research. Time and again, rumors surfaced of films that nearly paired them. Generational dramas, moral thrillers, studies of men at war with themselves. Yet Duvall always backed away. He reportedly told one producer that De Niro would turn the movie into a workshop. The comment wasn't cruel, it was practical.
Well, you just had to get in and do it. You know, it all begins with and ends with talking and listening.
Duvall didn't believe in performing as punishment. In later years, he softened slightly, calling De Niro a craftsman, not an artist. It sounded like faint praise, but from Duvall it was almost a compliment. He saw skill, not soul, and to him, that was the difference between greatness and grace. Both men chased honesty through opposite roads. De Niro sought it by vanishing, Duvall found it by standing still. One turned acting into science, the other turned it back into breathing. Number 4. Sean Penn. Sean Penn's reputation for volatility wasn't tabloid gossip to Duvall, it was lived experience. When they filmed together, their opposing temperaments ignited friction. Penn's combustible energy versus Duvall's old-school discipline. The older actor saw talent wrapped in arrogance, brilliance tangled in self-importance. What could have been respect instead hardened into lifelong distaste. Their collision happened on the set of Colors in the late 1980s, a cop drama meant to blend youth and authority. Duvall played the veteran officer, Penn the hot-headed rookie. From the first week, the tension was visible.
Why don't you just chill out a little bit and figure out which side you're on?
I would if I could.
Penn arrived with a storm's energy, charged, unpredictable, unwilling to yield. Duvall kept his composure, watching as the younger actor treated every scene like a personal crusade. Duvall valued calm precision, the slow burn of control. Penn thrived on chaos. Crew members whispered about shouting matches over line readings, even about Penn ignoring direction to improvise his own dialogue. For Duvall, that wasn't courage, it was ego disguised as intensity. Duvall later remarked, "He's a talented guy with no off switch." The comment stuck because it was true. Penn lived in overdrive, convinced that truth came only through explosion. Weeks of filming turned their professional distance into personal contempt. Duvall saw Penn's volatility as a threat to everything acting should protect: trust, rhythm, teamwork. Penn, meanwhile, saw Duvall as rigid, maybe even jealous. But when Duvall walked off set early one day after a particularly heated scene, the divide became irreversible. Years later, Duvall summed it up with surgical honesty. He's a good actor, but not a good person. He wasn't questioning Penn's talent, he was rejecting his chaos. For Duvall, art demanded discipline. Penn mistook mayhem for depth. The two men never worked together again, and neither tried to repair the rift. To Robert Duvall, Sean Penn was a reminder that raw talent means nothing without control. Greatness, he believed, isn't found in rage, it's found in restraint. Number 5. Billy Bob Thornton. At first, Robert Duvall admired Billy Bob Thornton's southern authenticity, the same grounded realism Duvall built his career on, but admiration faded when ambition took over. Behind the camera, Duvall saw the humility disappear. What began as artistic kinship dissolved into disappointment. Thornton's rise reminded Duvall of a truth he never liked. Success can blur sincerity. their paths crossed around the making of Sling Blade, a film that announced Thornton as a force in American cinema. Duvall praised the film publicly, but was less kind in private. He believed Thornton's portrayal of Carl Childers was authentic, but his off-camera conduct was not. Thornton had begun to direct, to write, to chase the kind of spotlight Duvall had always avoided. At first, Duvall supported him. He liked seeing someone from the South carving his own path. But as Thornton's confidence grew, Duvall noticed the swagger. He later said Thornton forgot where he came from. That sentence carried more than critique. It was betrayal. Duvall had once seen in Thornton a reflection of his younger self. Plain-spoken, committed, humble. Watching him shift toward celebrity felt like losing faith in his own beliefs. The two reportedly clashed over a project that never materialized. Duvall objected to Thornton's direction, calling it style before substance. He didn't mind ambition. He minded what it did to people once they tasted power. To him, Thornton's early honesty had turned into a performance of honesty, and that was unforgivable. Over time, Duvall spoke of Thornton less as an enemy and more as a caution. He told students that fame tests character the way heat tests metal. It either refines you or warps you. Thornton, he believed, had melted in it. Despite everything, Duvall never denied the talent. He just stopped trusting it. To Robert Duvall, Billy Bob Thornton was the final lesson in a career defined by truth, that even authenticity, when admired too loudly, can turn into a lie. Robert Duvall never sought to be liked, only understood. His grudges weren't born of vanity, but of loyalty to a craft he treated as sacred. In an industry that rewards excess, he valued silence. In a culture chasing reinvention, he clung to truth. Every feud, every fracture, came from defending what he believed acting was meant to be: honest, human, and unpretentious. These 5 names tell less about conflict and more about conviction. A man unwilling to compromise the art that shaped him. Whether right or wrong, Duvall's disdain became its own form of integrity. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more untold Hollywood histories. Because in Hollywood, where performance often replaces personality, Robert Duvall proved something rare, that even in disagreement, authenticity still matters.